Welcome, everybody, here to the X-Bump Sports Live Show. My name is Andrew Valentin, and hopefully we're not copyrighted. We are coming to you live here from the Inline Media School here in Lombard, Illinois. Again, wherever it is, ladies and gentlemen, day or night. I hope it is just right, and sorry about that. Just a little joke, considering apparently us just talking is enough to just copyright us. I don't know why. It's not like I'm up here singing like, you know, the Beach Boys or anything like that. But with me, folks, is a wonderful man with a great beach bod. It is the man himself.
Surfing USA.
Very well said. Mr. Drew Gwillem. Drew, how you doing, man?
I'm exhausted.
I bet,
tired.
Man. I bet.
Yeah, everything.
Now,
top down.
Trust me, I understand. Today started with me yelling into my phone and throwing my hat across the room. So, just leave it at that.
Yeah.
So,
one of those temperamental and tired days.
Yeah. Just a very, you want to just sit in your car and scream for about a good minute, I would say.
Yeah, I usually just take it out on the idiots on the road, but, you know, that works too. Scream to myself or scream at them. Get the hell out of my way. Learn how to drive.
I thought you were going to play some bumper cars with them or some NASCAR.
I'm very tempted sometimes. Like, man, I wish this was Grand Theft Auto and I could just hit you with my car. Just give you a little bump and be like, hey, just letting you know I'm here because you have no idea.
Yeah.
Not a clue.
Just you're stuck at a red light and then it turns green and you don't want to move yet, but I want to move. So maybe if I can just move you out of the way.
Here's your invitation.
Exactly. Well, I invite you, Drew, to talk about what we have for today because we got...
I accept.
Good, because we have a lot to talk about here, Mr. Class President.
Yes, we do.
And
this guy. This guy again. I think everybody knows who this guy is going to be.
They know who this guy is, but are you ready to do this?
Sure.
He said reluctantly.
Are you ready for me to do this?
You know what? I'm more than, you know what? I talked about this twice already over the course of today and yesterday. I'm not really ready for this, but let's do it anyway, shall we?
Okay.
So here we go, folks. We are kicking this one off with, yes, of course, Mr. Deshaun Watson. The verdict officially came in as of yesterday. We found out it is Deshaun Watson getting 6 games. That's right. That is the final suspension for this one, ladies and gents. And I happen to have here everything in front of me on what this is and what this entails because...
You could just scratch that and just call it a joke. It's a joke.
It certainly, for many out there, of course, it certainly seems like 6 games is not enough, and we'll get more into this here very soon. Obviously, this comes in light of violating the NFL's conduct policy for what has been deemed accusations of sexual misconduct against these women. And it's interesting. Real quick, I'll read these statements out real fast. This is from the disciplinary officer, arbitrator, whatever you want to call her, Sue Robinson, who is ruling on this. She said in her statement, she wrote the NFL carried its burden to prove by a preponderance of the evidence that Mr. Watson engaged in sexual assault as defined by the NFL against the 4 therapists identified in the report. Mr. Watson violated the policy in this regard. So right there, she's saying that by the NFL's standard on this, by all that there was enough evidence there to say that apparently there was sexual assault to that degree. She also followed it up by saying she found Watson's predatory conduct cast a negative light on the league and its players. And she also went on to rule that Watson is to limit his massage therapy to club-directed sessions and club-approved massage therapists for the duration of his career, and so impose this mandate as a condition of his reinstatement to come back into the league after the 6-game suspension. She also ruled as well that Watson is to have no adverse involvement with law enforcement and must not commit any additional violations of said policy. So with all that being said, now we have the verdict. It's 6 games for Watson. You've already kind of let it be said, but Drew, your initial thoughts and feelings about what happened in this situation of getting the 6-game suspension and, you know, the outcome of this, and thoughts, man.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah, of course.
Like I said, I think it's a joke. Clearly, she even said sexual. What were her words? Sexual assault.
Yes, okay. Mr. Watson engaged in sexual assault as defined by the NFL.
Assault.
Yes.
That's a 6-game suspension. Sexual assault is a 6-game suspension.
Yeah.
Okay. PED usage. DeAndre Hopkins, 6-game suspension. For whether or not, I know there's no excuse for not knowing what's in the things you're taking now.
Yeah.
How is that similar? How is that even close?
Right.
Even close to the same level? It's not.
Yeah.
And the fact that she thought that it was, I know that's probably not in her decision-making process. I'm sure she knows what the suspensions are for certain things, for certain punishments for players.
It was understood that I guess she took an abundance of the players who have been suspended over the X amount of years and used that, I guess, as another part of this deal, I guess. So, but still, even with that, I mean, you're talking about even like Calvin Ridley, right?
Right.
Got a full year suspension
for nothing.
A game.
Non-violent, non-criminal activity.
Yeah. Gambled on a game. That was his team.
His own team to win.
Yeah.
His own team to win that he wasn't playing in. Yeah. I understand it's bad for the game. Yeah. He shouldn't have been doing it. Agreed that there are some bad things that have come out of that. And the year suspension is a good thing to have for that, to keep people from doing it.
Of course.
Guess what? 6 games is not keeping these guys from doing it. Money hit their pockets.
Yeah.
Hit their full year suspension minimum for anything like that. Better be. They're just saying that, here's a slap on the wrist. Plus, not to mention the fact that the Cleveland Browns are supporting this by paying him $1 million for his first season there. So this dude's not even going to lose the money. They're making sure it's not going to affect him where it really hurts.
Yeah.
Where they get paid. And they had that was a total disregard of these women, of everyone else as well, because who's to say he's not just going to get better at being more discreet about this?
Right. Yeah.
And then, so that way, they're coming forward again. It's like, I don't know what it would take for something truly to happen to people like this and people in the league who think they're above the law. Predatory conduct. Predatory. That you're a predator. You are a predator in every sense of the word. How is that? 6 games is still allowing this. It's still enabling these guys to do these things. Mm-hmm. They're like, we'll just have to get smarter about it.
Yeah.
To me, that's all that's saying. It's a joke. It's a joke.
I mean, in the personal sense, I'm right there with you. I think this was an absolute embarrassment. And look, she's an outside voice, right? The NFLPA and the NFL, both. She's a arbitrator from the middle ground, the neutral site, whatever you want to call it, right? That's making the call on this kind of thing, and she's taking all of this information into account. But from what her statement was to what the suspension is, it just sounds like very contradictory, right? You're calling it and saying sexual assault. You're saying predatory behavior, and yet 6 games compared to what DeAndre Hopkins got, which again, PED use, you don't want to see it, or whatever the case is. But putting those two things side by side and saying one is worse than the other, I have a hard time believing that. I also have a hard time believing that a player being suspended a full year for gambling on one game that was his own team while he was not playing, compared to Watson being accused, again, it's accusations, of course, but being accused of sexual assault by how many women? Obviously, again, they came and settled. And to me, again, personally, I said this today on Blow the Whistle. I will say this again. If they were the ones that apparently enacted the idea of let's settle with these women, which says to me that something was going to come out that he did not want out there from him and his lawyers. They found out about it or something. Exactly. Somebody was saying something. So then you come forward and say, you've got to make a payment. You've got to pay this, because otherwise, if this comes out, you are going to be found. I could be wrong. It could just be they wanted it maybe to just go away. There wasn't anything else. But it's hard to believe that when this is stretched out for so long.
I don't buy that for one second.
You
don't pay people hush money.
No.
You don't pay people hush money if nothing happened.
Exactly. Because I have to believe
why
that.
would you?
Yeah.
Why would you? The truth usually comes out.
Right.
A lot of times it does. And in this case, it has. We know what happened to and what he did. And he's getting away with it.
Right.
Okay? But I don't care. 6 games is getting away with it.
Yeah.
Not affecting him highly.
Right.
Highly affecting him where it really hurts.
Yeah. No fine whatsoever.
No.
Just 6 games. It's not costing him any money at all on the level. It's shocking to me that and again, it's an outside voice. I understand that she did all this work and everything, but it just seems like way too little. I would have even been, look, personally myself, I wanted, of course, a full year suspension.
Minimum.
If anything, at the minimum. I would have gladly, though, have taken at least double-digit games. Like, give me 12, 14 games. Something that at least enacts a penalty that says you're not going to see a majority of the season. I feel like that's something that should have been considered, because who's to say that even though these rules are in place, like you said, that he doesn't find a way to be more covert, that this tells players that all of a sudden, hey, if I want to do the same thing, I just have to be more cautious about it. Or apparently I just need to have NDAs on hand, according to everything we've learned about this situation. It's asinine to think that this is somehow going to impose a change, because this kind of, everybody's different. I could be wrong. I'm always about maybe people can get another chance in life. But this is the kind of thing that I always feel like, if you've been like this before, this is not a thing that you can just simply switch off. You probably are going to do this again. Whether we find out about it or not, I don't know. I feel like, though, now that it has come to light first time, if this happens again, somebody will quickly be willing to come to the light again. And we don't know how many women actually were affected. Yeah, especially.
Hopefully.
Because we only heard about 25 women that said civil suits against him. And then 23 or whatever, or 22 of them or whatever settled their lawsuits, leaving about 3 or 4 of them to still be around. So, I mean, who knows how many more women were affected by this? We heard 66 massage therapists enacted with him in 17 months. 15 of them said, oh, he's a good guy, nothing happened, we had a great relationship, whatever. But then that says, okay, well, what about the rest of the women? That's 51 other women. Chop that in half. That's the 25 women that came forward with civil suits. What are we talking about here? So obviously beforehand, we kind of talked about this before. The NFLPA had said they're going to stand by it, and they urged the NFL to do the same in that regard. Also, this was a quick statement too I hadn't been able to find as well. In relying on precedent, Robinson sought to differentiate between violent and non-violent sexual misconduct. Robinson concluded that Watson's conduct does not fall into the category of violent conduct that would require the 6-game minimum 6-game suspension for the minimum, which the league had established as by far the most commonly imposed discipline for domestic or gendered violence and sexual acts. Sorry, there was a lot there. So basically, by that note, then she was saying, so there's a difference between he didn't act in a violent manner or a non-violent manner, which is what I don't think that should make a difference in this again.
Because then that's rape. And then you're going to jail.
Yeah, right.
So he didn't force them,
right?
But he didn't just kind of let him leave either.
No, he clearly was pushing for something to happen between them. And this is where, and I'm not trying to play devil's advocate, but to try and do that, I think the reason that this kind of happened was because with the 2 grand juries that were in this thing, they found no criminal charges.
Right.
Because no criminal charges came to light, that then makes this a little bit more of it almost grazed the area a little bit, where it's like, all right, it's not just black and white. There's very much kind of a line, but we have to find that line. And I feel like because there were no criminal charges, that made the line more blurred, or whatever you want to say, gray, whatever you want to use. And that kind of hurt the situation, where she probably said, Well, because he's not getting charged with anything, how bad was this really? Which I feel like is if that's the way you're looking at it, that's a terrible way to do it.
I agree. There was no criminal charges. So there's no criminal activity here.
Right.
We're talking about something different here.
Right.
It's not about the criminal charges. It's about the kind of people that are being enabled to do these things because of their status in life.
Yes.
And that's what it's about. Mm-hmm. It's about these guys who think they're above the law. Watson, Snyder, who pimps out his cheerleaders.
Yeah.
And nothing happens. Nothing.
Yeah.
That is a joke. That is a joke. These people, these men, and who knows who else.
Yeah.
Do these things because they're above the law. They have more money than you. They control the world because they're the rich men in the world.
Yeah, money and power clearly enable a lot of this stuff to simply happen.
And by these people in the NFL playing, I'm glad. I know we're going to get to it in a second, but I'm glad that the NFL is appealing this joke, because they're the ones that have to say, we don't want this in our league. We don't want this kind of activity. And if this is the kind of things you're going to pull, then you're not going to be in our league.
Right. We're
still going to be the multi-billion-dollar business without Deshaun Watson in the league.
Yeah.
There are plenty of players who go out there and play their ass off week after week who don't do this garbage.
Right.
And there's plenty more who would love the shot to. So keep messing around. Keep messing around, all of you.
Right.
It's all a matter of time before they have no choice but to say, see you later, because there's going to be so much outrage by everyone else.
Yeah, no, I absolutely. I mean, and to get into that, obviously, yes, the NFL is now officially appealing against Robinson's decision for the 6-game suspension. The NFL just announced it actually today. They're making it official. So the NFL is going to be challenging on the decision, which now it goes to the NFL on this as well.
A tweet from Jeff Darlington on the subject. I'm told NFL is appealing for an indefinite suspension that would be a minimum of 1 year.
Yes.
But perhaps more significant given the structure of Watson's contract. Sources tell me the NFL's appeal will also include a monetary fine. Money is now a significant part of the equation, thankfully. Because again, Jeff Darlington knows it. The NFL knows it. The player knows it. The team knows it. That's why they gave him $1 million for his first year.
Yeah.
So it's not going to hurt him.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Now, maybe this should go even further into the Cleveland Browns being fined and whatever for allowing this kind of thing to happen. Whether you knew something was going on with this guy. You knew these things were happening.
Yeah.
Whether you had all the information or not when you signed him, that's your fault for not getting all the information before you signed him to this deal.
Right. And listen, at the end of the day, we may never know what really happened in all these situations. All we can do,
enough to get paid off.
Well, yeah, it seems like
that's enough for me.
Yeah,
that's enough for me.
I mean, all we can do really is assume at this point. Obviously, we can make our own conjectures about it or whatever the case is. But at the end of the day, I have to feel like you don't pay off people if you don't want them to be silent about something. Obviously, yes, if these women, they clearly felt strong enough to feel like they could take this to court. And perhaps, I don't know what happened. Maybe they did feel this was the best they could do. I'm not sure what their lawyer intended for them to do. That's on their lawyer. That's for them to figure out and decide on their own regard. But I can tell you that from my perspective, it feels like you don't make the offer to potentially settle unless you have something to cover up. And I'm glad that the NFL is taking the action to possibly say, look, we're going to pursue this a little farther. I know that they were saying, yes, a 1-year suspension is what they're looking for, plus a fine. There's a lot of talk that says maybe there's a chance they could potentially meet in the middle, right? There's a lot to this storyline that we're still going to have to figure out. We don't know where exactly this is going to go as of this point in time right now. This could potentially go to a 1-year suspension for Deshaun Watson. This could also turn into 2 as well, because this is now on the NFL and Roger Goodell to make the decision, and that will be the final say-so. The Players Association, I'm sure, is not happy about this. Watson, I've already heard, we've already talked about this, he is in play now to potentially sue the NFL if that does come about, which, if that does, that's even more muddying the waters, because that could potentially stay off his suspension and have him playing during the year.
He could be playing week 1.
He could be playing week 1, which could, I mean, talk about, really muddying the waters and really seeing an uproar from people. I mean, this could be a whole game changer on the NFL because we've never seen anything like this before. That's the thing. This is a whole new territory for all of us when we talk about like the NFL and really pro sports. Personally myself, I've never seen anything on this kind of level where a player, no matter what rule they've broken, no matter what, whatever case it is, I've never seen it go to this point where it's like now you may sue the league potentially for this. I could be wrong. I haven't watched enough sports in my life to know, but as far as I can find from history, this is like one of a first where it's like I'm suing the league because they will suspend me longer. This is a first one for me. I don't know, but I don't know where this goes next. All I can do is say personally, I do hope it's a year suspension or at least it's a double-digit game suspension, if anything, that will, and a fine that would just be on the level of just something that will hit his pocket enough to say, all right, I just need to like stay at home and be quiet and never say anything again or something like that. I don't know, but that's just personally myself. I don't know exactly where the NFL will turn to. I feel like they'll try and ask for a year long. They may settle on, I heard they said 12 to 14 games might be something they try to settle on in an equal middle with a significant fine. But Drew, I mean,
hopefully this process takes a little time. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of justice here. Maybe it takes some time. He plays out this season or most of it.
Right.
Gets suspended for a year, and that takes place then the following season where it can really hurt him. Yeah. Where it may be $20-30 million.
Something. I mean,
he'll notice that one.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
He'll notice that one.
With certainly all the money that he's made, it would seem like it, but. Obviously, this isn't done yet. So unfortunately for those that are like, are we finally done with Watson? It just doesn't seem like it's going to happen. But, at the same time, if we continue to talk about the story in the hopes that there is some sort of justice that can be had, which, by the way, from all the times that this man talked, I never heard him say profounding his innocence or anything like that. You never heard him say, I am innocent. His lawyer said a lot of very, I would say, not good things, just for the benefit of not finding better words to use. He simply said a lot of stuff that I would not spew out potentially to the public. But at the end of the day, it's going to be a very interesting situation to see what happens going forward. As of this point right now, he is suspended for 6 games. Jacoby Brissett is going to be the starting quarterback for those first 6 weeks. Who knows how this whole situation is going to play out. It will be very interesting to say the very least, I would, at this point. But folks, that's going to do it for Deshaun Watson for a while, I hope. I'm sure by tomorrow we'll probably hear about the lawsuit he'll probably be preparing to file against the NFL. But folks, when we do come back, we've got to talk about those fish down in South Beach because they have found themselves in a world of trouble in that barrel. Going to be some shooting in this one next on the X-Bomb Sports Live Show. Welcome back, everybody, here to the X-Bomb Sports Live Show. I am still Andrew Valentin. I'm still here with my man, Drew Gwillem, and we just got done talking about the Deshaun Watson situation. If you don't know, the NFL is appealing Deshaun Watson So if you've got anything to say on that, again, comment down below. We want to hear from you guys, especially as well. Of course, you can email us at xbsportsofficial@gmail.com and hit us up on our social media at xbombsports on Instagram and on Twitter. So, more controversy, of course, for the NFL, because why not? But this one
Isn't there always?
Yeah, this one was a little bit unexpected, I thought, in a way. But if you haven't heard, the Miami Dolphins catching themselves in a little bit of trouble, finding themselves in the NFL's nets because they have been apparently charged with tampering. That's right, folks. The Miami Dolphins have officially been charged with tampering after having discussions with Tom Brady and Sean Payton during the offseason, while both were still under contracts with the Saints for Payton and Buccaneers for Brady, about potentially coming in as the quarterback and the head coach for this upcoming season. Or Brady, not so much quarterback, more so apparently as an investor and front office personnel, with the potential of, if he wanted to play quarterback, being there as well.
Player owner.
Yeah. So the Miami Dolphins will officially lose a 2023 first-round pick. They will also lose a 2024 third-round pick. And Stephen Ross, the owner, will be fined $1.5 million. And will be suspended 6 weeks until October 17th, while Bruce Beal, the chairman for the team, will be fined $500,000 and not permitted at league meetings for the rest of the season. Roger Goodell put out this statement as well. This was what Roger Goodell had to say. He said, the investigators found tampering violations of unprecedented scope and severity. I know of no prior instance of the team violating the prohibition on tampering with both a head coach and star player to the potential of detriment and multiple other clubs over a period of several years. Similarly, I know of no prior instance in which ownership was so directly involved in the violations. So yes, if you don't know, Stephen Ross, believe it or not, the owner of the Dolphins, was directly involved with a lot of these talks. So obviously it's kind of a hit to the Dolphins for sure. Not so much to the owner, but certainly it's a bit of a slap in the face to the Dolphins, in the sense that I think it was a good slap because certainly there was some sort of tampering on this. But Drew, I mean, what do you think about this? Miami, I mean, we'd heard about the fact that they were trying to bring in Brady and Peyton.
Right.
They had. I said that I thought it was a publicity stunt. They put out this story after they retired that they were, we're going to get both of them. And now all of a sudden it comes out. Now they actually were having a lot of conversations. In fact,
too many conversations.
Too many, in fact, before they were even retired, which still is a problem. Nevertheless, you're under contract. Right. But what are your thoughts about this Miami Dolphins situation and what's come out of it?
Well, it's not smart, but at the same time, you think Stephen Ross is concerned about $1.5 million?
I was gonna say it's not really probably a portion of what he has.
Right. The picks hurt. The first round pick hurts because you think they're going to be a fairly good team this year, but you don't know if Tua is awful again. They may have a higher pick that they may need to get a quarterback.
They really might.
So that could really hurt them. Yeah. And so that's where it really starts to affect the team. And it's tough when the players lose out on that because their owner was being sleazy.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know. It's not a good look. It's not a good look at all. Mm-hmm. But I think there's so much more of this that happens that goes under the radar than what, that actually comes out. Right. See, for me, a lot of this, them trying to lose, and then with the owner possibly talking to their old head coach, who filed lawsuits and did his whole thing. Yeah. Was telling him he would pay him $100K a game for losing. Right. That stuff is sounding like way more like the truth. Than not now. So it's weird how an organization is talked about for doing one thing, and then they're like, no, and then another thing comes out about that said organization that they're coloring outside the lines a little. Yeah. It definitely feels like with this kind of situation, I'm not
I did think it was a little bit odd that they were talking about bringing these guys in. I thought there was at least like a discussion like, oh, maybe they were talking about a trade. That's where my mind instantly went. I did not even think about the idea of they're calling these guys about potentially like signing up with them. Like that never came to my mind one bit, but it's certainly, like you said, it's not really affecting Stephen Ross. He's got so much money at this point. It hurts them in the draft pick stuff, yeah, absolutely, which they may need to go get a player if Tua's not. I mean, this really hurts them now if Tua's not the guy. You better hope Tua's the guy now, but they seem pretty content with him. It definitely reflects bad, though, on this idea that, like you said, with Brian Flores and everything, you know, from what I've understood, though, we've kind of come to figure out that the involvement of this was part of the investigation into Flores's, obviously, lawsuit as well. The Flores lawsuit, however, apparently the NFL says they found no evidence that there was intentionally losing games in 2019. The payment or anything like that, I think they're still kind of figuring that whole thing out about the $100K. However, the NFL did note, though, this was interesting, that Stephen Ross had apparently made comments prior to the end of the season, I guess, at some point. So could be the beginning of the year or could be the end of the year, who knows when. But apparently he said something about prioritizing the draft position of the Miami Dolphins in 2019 over winning games. Whatever that is, whatever that means, and whenever that did happen is interesting, because if it's at the end of the season and they ended up 5-11, I think, that year, kind of makes sense. If you're saying that at the beginning of the season, well, that's a totally
right.
That's tanking, and that's something that's not allowed per NFL rules and the CBA policy and all that kind of stuff. So that now becomes a question of, well, when was this statement said? Well, nobody's given anything about when said statement was, and I'm sure that will be probably a hot debated thing. But I of course, at the end of the day, now this becomes a huge piece, I would say, for the Miami Dolphins, because if it's not already that the quarterback has to prove himself, you already traded a bunch for Tyreek Hill. You're clearly trying to do different things. You hired a new head coach after firing your old coach, who's now suing you for saying there was racism and that he was, blackmailed into doing these things for the Dolphins and stuff. If not all of that, now you have this issue on your hands too, tampering, and you just lost a draft pick. And now your owner and your front office can't be there. Drew, I got to ask you, though, I mean, certainly they have to prove themselves to the NFL, to the fans of the Dolphins, and NFL fans, I think, alike, that this team can work. What's your overall take for this now going into this season for the Dolphins? Do you think this potentially could take them out of the water, if you will, be fish out of water, if you will, or you think they'll be able to kind of weather the storm? To use another water pun.
I don't think this is going to have too much effect on the players. They play. This isn't like an owner passing away or somebody they care about.
Right.
On all accounts, most of these owners, they care about the money that these guys make them. They don't actually care about them.
Right.
And I think they all know that. They have an idea of who these guys are and what they're there for.
Right.
Okay. And the players are there to play. And if anything, especially not having a draft pick and knowing that they're not going to have a big-time player come in their way, it may motivate them.
Right.
They have a very good team. And I think they're going to come out and play like they would. I don't think this is going to affect their play on the field.
Okay, yeah. By the way, too, Eric Studesville, who was a running back coach for the Dolphins, said that if any kind of conversation did take place where there was any sort of lose games over win games, whatever the case is for the draft pick, he said, if anything, we never heard about it on the field. So he has since quelled that and said, look, we played to win. Whatever we won or we lost is for them, which I think is totally probably what happened. The owner probably said that in confidence around Brian Flores and the other people around. Apparently it was all the managers and coach and everything, but apparently that never made it to the field. So that's good for them. But I agree. I don't know how much this is really, because I saw people were like, well, is this going to really affect them? I don't really think it's going to hurt them too much. They could turn into something, like you said, if it becomes quarterback is in need, Tua's hurt or whatever, or he's not playing well. Well, that first round pick would have really been nice to have. So,
well, if I'm Tua at this point, I'm
He's motivated.
I'm really motivated.
Yeah, he's really motivated.
What your owner is telling you is, I don't think you're good enough, and I want Brady.
Right. As if the Deshaun Watson kind of lingo that was there, we were talking about before wasn't enough.
Right. So he has a lot to prove, but he should have a big chip on his shoulder now. And
absolutely.
Be ready to go.
He did throw a 65-yard bomb, ladies and gentlemen. So it did have a lot of air underneath it. I want that noted. So in come the why do I hate Tua emails
practice?
By all means.
At practice. Okay.
Practice.
Yeah.
So Tyreek Hill said,
hey,
Tyreek Hill said he's the most accurate quarterback in the league. So, I mean, if he says it, got to be right?
And we all know Tyreek Hill runs his mouth all the time. and he's doing it in the right way because
absolutely.
It's smart. I get it.
You're backing up your quarterback.
It's not even close to the truth. We all know it. But for him, you back your quarterback, you stand behind him, and he's trying to lift him up.
I mean, listen, by the numbers, sure, he's maybe one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah, when you only throw 4 yards downfield,
exactly.
Of course.
The guy who actually was the most accurate quarterback in the league this year, mind you, was the quarterback of the Cincinnati Bengals, who was taking about 4 picks before.
Oh, okay. Oh, my God. We're not talking about Joe Burrow and the Bengals.
Gotta do it, baby.
Yeah.
Gotta do it, man.
Yeah.
He is beautiful. By the way,
can you get your jug of Bengals Kool-Aid out of here, please?
By the way, I do love the fact, too, the Dolphins, after I've said this before, I'll say this again. I do find it interesting to stick on the Dolphins that as he's making the Super Bowl, they then come out and the story comes out and says, yeah, we were ready to trade like multiple first-round picks to move up to get him at number 1. How interesting that comes out as he's hitting the Super Bowl with the Bengals. I'm just saying. So, you know what? Listen, I say this again. I'm giving Tua a chance. This is his moment. This is his time. If he does well, I will be very happy for him. I will come up here.
No, you won't.
Yes, I will. I promise you I will.
Don't let him lie to you.
I will be happy
he's lying
for him.
to you
If they make the
all.
playoffs and he plays well.
All I hear is blah, 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 lies, lies,
you
lies.
You really think I'm not genuine? You really think I'm going to hate on this guy that much?
You hate Tua. He hates Tua. He hates Luka Doncic.
Yeah.
He hates Kyrie Irving. Who else we got? We're gonna make a list.
Oh, we know.
Say, everybody, send in your list of all the all the professional athletes that Andrew hates.
There's only one guy that I truly hate, love, and you know who that is. He's number 1 at the top of the list, ladies and gentlemen. You know, somebody did say they're like, if I ever get the chance and I can find it on discount, I'm gonna buy you. He's gonna buy me a BS jersey. So.
Oh God.
And I told him, I'm like, well, you'll probably find it in the discount pile now at the 76ers store. So.
He is BS, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's called bum symptoms, ladies and gentlemen. That's what BS stands for, bum symptoms. All right, well, obviously, let us know what you think about the Miami Dolphins situation. Do you guys think that they're going to be hurt by this thing? Do you think they're going to need that first-round pick when Tua inevitably becomes a bust of a quarterback? Obviously, let us know. Comment section, hit us up in the email. We want to hear from you guys. And when we do come back for the final segment, Pièce de Resistance, we got to talk about Major League Baseball's trade deadline and what happened here in the city of Chicago. That's coming up next here.
Baseball bad.
On the X-Bomb Sports Live Show.
Man, I'm so hungry. I need somewhere to eat fast. I have no idea where to go.
Psst. Hola, me llamo El Taco de Taco. You know where to go for the amazing taste that'll have you craving more? Taco Bell.
All right, can I get 20 tacos, please?
You got it.
Thanks, Taco.
De nada.
Good. That's it. Eat the tacos.
Taco Bell. Live más.
And welcome back, everybody, here to the X-Bomb Sports Live Show. I'm still Andrew Valentin. I'm still here with your man himself, as crunchy as a crunch
What?
Crunchwrap Supreme. I don't know. I'm thinking about food now.
Yeah.
Because we were talking about tacos and the taco.
Cheesy gordita
commercial
crunch.
Yeah, I'm hungry now. Drew Guillem's still here with me, ladies and gentlemen.
Talking about Taco Hell.
Taco Hell. We just got done talking about Miami Dolphins and their situation with losing a draft pick because of tampering with Brady and Sean Payton. So obviously, if you got any comments on that, let us know, ladies and gentlemen. And we move into the final segment of our show. That's right. It is time to talk about baseball. I can't talk anymore because I don't want to. Specifically, the trade deadline with the Cubs and the White Sox. And I'm going to start with the least of the bunch that probably is the story, being the White Sox. Because the White Sox didn't make any moves except one. The one move that they did, in fact, make was trading Reese McGuire for...
You stay out of White Sox business.
For what?
There he is,
Yeah,
Mr. Kenny himself.
Mr. Kenny Williams is of my
Yeah.
one of those men on top of my love-hate list, truly. Actually, he's more on the side of the hate than the love. But yes, White Sox traded Reese McGuire for Jake Diekman, a relief pitcher from the Boston Red Sox, who is 5-1 right now, actually has some pretty decent stats, but obviously not the move that they were looking for. And certainly not the move that White Sox fans were looking for as well. And obviously, if you didn't know, Greg Hahn, after the deadline, went to the podium to speak, and apparently he said he was very disappointed that they were not able to get a deal done for a left-handed bat, and that at the same time, though, he was very content and satisfied to say that this team is still good enough to potentially win a championship, which... In some ways, I can kind of agree with, but considering after what you did last year with your acquisitions in the trade deadline, which, if I'm not mistaken, were Ryan Tempera, Cesar Hernandez, and I believe, Craig Kimbrell. Guys who were certainly significant in helping in one way or another. Craig Kimbrell, maybe not so much as you would have hoped for, but nevertheless, moves that certainly... were pushes to try and be a championship caliber roster. This team did get to 90 wins last year, so let's not take anything out of that. But the fact that they only made one move all throughout this trade deadline when they really needed to make a push is, as a White Sox fan, it's unbelievable that they didn't even try to do anything. And from my perspective, from outside as a baseball fan, it shows there's a very utter lack of interest and want to be one of the top teams in baseball, coming from the very top of the list, being the owner, Jerry Reinsdorf. Had he not been, somewhere along the line, you have to be willing to trade away what assets you have if you want to get better. If you've not noticed, the Yankees are willing to part with everybody, as are the Dodgers and the Padres. The Padres gave up their entire farm system, it feels like, for what I have to assume are three very talented players. If you don't know, they got Juan Soto from the Nationals and Josh Bell. They also acquired Josh Hader from the Milwaukee Brewers. And then they added Brandon Drury, who's from the Reds, who happens to be one of their guys leading in home runs and batting average. So let's just load up the wagon, right? Because clearly they're in the competition to try and win a championship, so it makes total sense. But that's just me. I can't really... I'm speaking as a man who may have a little biasy in the game, potentially. Drew... Sorry. I know what might be coming, but what are your thoughts for the White Sox inactivities?
Sorry. Are we doing a show?
Yes, we are. Sorry.
Are we playing a baseball?
Tony, come on.
We're playing
Work
a
with me,
baseball
buddy.
game?
Yeah, I know. I know.
Hold on, let me wake up first.
It's very important that you stay awake, Mr. Manager, Mr. Class President.
What?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm still tired. Still sleeping.
We should. You know what? We needed it. We should have given you more for breakfast. That's the problem. I know it's past your bedtime, but
yeah.
What's your thoughts about the White Sox inactivity at the deadline, and obviously sleepy lovers?
Not trying to win.
Yeah.
Not doing whatever it takes to win. I don't know how else you could see that. How can you see the first half of their season playing 500 ball, less than 500 ball, and be content with that and be okay with staying pat.
Yeah.
I know that they don't have as much as they have had in the past.
Right.
And maybe some of these deals were tough to come by.
Yeah.
But Yeah, I feel like you still had to do something. You have enough to get help in the places that you need it. Fill needs, areas of need. That's what they should have been doing, and they didn't do it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Real quick, too, in a statement, this is Rick Hahn. This is exactly what he had to say. He said, "We're disappointed that we weren't able to do more to improve this club. I think you saw a year ago at this time. You've seen it for the last several years, arguably the last couple of decades, that it's our nature to try and improve this club at any opportunity we have. Unfortunately, we weren't able to line up on some of our other potential targets." If that potential target you're talking about, by the way, was Shohei Ohtani, I'll tell you right now.
Juan Soto.
Or Juan Soto. The Juan Soto thing you probably didn't give enough for because everybody seemed to want to try and get him cheap when you knew that wasn't going to be the case. I don't know what they may have potentially offered, although I'm hearing that I guess it was like the whole farm system for Shohei Ohtani. But I feel like the Angels were only listening. It's one of those things where it's like, well, let's see what we can get for it, right? You put it out there for sale, and all of a sudden everybody's like, we'll give you everything. And you go, whoa, we were not expecting all of these offers. Maybe we wait a while. You didn't think you thought they were really going to sell him at this point?
No.
Unless you gave some astronomical figure of, here's 3 position players plus all of our farm system. They're not trading him now. Winter meetings, maybe try again, but not now. Because they can see there's going to be a ton of value out there for him. Because according to what I've heard, almost every single, if not every single baseball club called for him. Because why wouldn't you? Same thing with Soto, right? Everybody called to see what the offer was. The Padres were the ones that were like, yeah, we're good enough. We'll just get rid of the farm system because we don't need them. We've got everybody we need. We got every pitcher we need. Now we have every hitter we need.
We want to win now.
Exactly.
That's the name of the game.
Yeah.
Win now.
Unfortunately, in baseball, it takes too long for guys to get ready. Look, Bryce Harper, as good as he is a player now, took him 3 years to finally get in the league. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, but if I'm not mistaken, I think the last guy, TJ, you may know this, I don't know if you do, but the last guy to come right out of high school, potentially play baseball in the majors.
I thought Bryce Harper did.
I thought he did too, but I guess he played in the minors. I think it might have just been Strasburg. If I'm not mistaken, was it maybe Strasburg? Because I remember they said at 18 years old, they're like, he can whip it with the best of them. And I think I distinctly remember him starting in games at 18 years old. I'm pretty sure he was the first one. Might have been Harper. I might be wrong on that. But then those are the last 2 guys. That's it. Everybody else takes time. Well, this team doesn't have time anymore. You've developed Jimenez. You've developed Robert. You got Giolito and helped develop him. You have guys in place that can play. Time to start building on this roster and bringing in guys. No matter what the cost is. You want to win? You want to win in the long term? You're going to have to make some sacrifices. But one team that didn't make a sacrifice, and it should be noted because I want to get to them, because this was huge. The Cubs obviously made a lot of moves. They certainly traded a lot of pitchers, which I was not prepared for. Ross, Martin, so many guys went. But at the end of the day, the 2 guys we were I think everybody was convinced were going to go, ended up being the guys that stayed. Ian Happ and Wilson Contreras stay as Chicago, I was going to say White Sox, Chicago Cubs. They stay in the north side with the boys in Wrigley. So not exactly the way that we thought it was going to play out. We thought they were certainly going. They said their tearful goodbyes, seemed very sad, and now they stick around, and now it's kind of like, boy, this is kind of awkward, isn't it? So, Drew, from your perspective as a man who certainly is close to the team and in heart, as a fan, what were your thoughts about Contreras and Happ staying in after all of the talk that they were going to leave?
I mean, I'm glad they're still on the team. I like them on the Cubs. I think they should be pieces that stick around for a while.
Yeah.
And part of this team growing and building more with quality players that they have.
Yeah.
One of the best catchers in the league. He is.
Yeah.
And one of the best hitting catchers in the league.
Yeah.
And so from what I've heard was that a lot of teams were looking at Contreras as playing another position if they came to their team. They didn't want to screw up what they had with their catchers already and pitchers, catching and pitching staff together.
Yes.
And they didn't want to mess that up at the end of the season and play with that. So they wanted him to come in, but he could be more of a DH, and as just a hitter, he doesn't excel. He's not top of the line hitter.
Right.
So for these teams to give up all their top tier prospects for a guy who's coming in just to hit. I understand why it didn't happen.
Right.
At the same time, it's kind of hard for me to believe that all they could get for a guy like Contreras when these teams could easily get him, sign him, and then he could be their catcher going forward.
Yeah.
Who's better than what they have for a lot of these teams.
Yeah.
So I don't know why that part of it couldn't work out. But at the same time, I think they kind of did Contreras dirty. The whole time it's Contreras is getting traded, and then they come out and say, well, we never told Contreras that he was definitely going to be, or that he was being traded.
Yeah.
Oh, but you were definitely shopping him because we're trying to trade you.
Right.
We're doing whatever we can to trade you, but we didn't say you're definitely going to be traded. That's kind of giving me the word salad.
Right.
It's like a Matt Nagy special every time he speaks. It's
Gotta
like,
love a Matt Nagy special.
How can you not be upfront with a guy that was part of your World Series team, still around, and he's done good things for your team? He's grown up a lot.
Yeah.
And he's shown you, to me, he's shown that he's a leader type of player for this team.
Yeah.
And now, what, a compensatory pick in between the second and third rounds, the best they can get for him?
Yeah.
It's kind of, it's not very good. It's hard to believe that they couldn't get any prospects back that weren't better than what they're going to get.
Right.
And now they won't be able to, they're probably not going to sign him. They might offer him a lowball deal at the end of the year, which sucks.
Yeah.
Maybe sign him to a qualifying offer, which what does that do? He's going to be stuck on another 90-loss team.
Right. Yeah.
So if they do that, then that's really doing him dirty.
Yeah.
At this point, they made their bed. Now they have to sleep in this. And now it sucks for fans who have to watch a guy who's beloved there in Wrigley walk away for nothing, basically.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's unfortunate that they couldn't get a deal done to try and get something back. Obviously, from what I understand, the offers that were coming in so low for him are acute to the fact that, from what I understand, there's a lot of obviously talk because he plays so well up until a certain point. Towards the end of the season, he kind of has a little bit of a downfall on his hitting. His defense has also been something I think that's kind of been called into question. Look, we've seen him throwing guys out. Don't get me wrong. He's got a gun on his arm. He can certainly throw the ball. But there's times where he's not always the best guy on the, back there to stop the balls. He's not always great with framing and things like that.
Right. But
he certainly is a voice and a leader that you can throw in there, and he can take charge of a team, I think, for sure. But as a DH, probably more so, like you said, these teams are looking at him outside of playing catcher because there are other guys that they trust that have the trust of their pitchers, right? That's kind of one of the things. At this point, your pitchers developed a relationship somewhere with one of these catchers. They don't necessarily want you bringing in a new guy to potentially throw them off.
Right.
Who knows how chemistry is.
When you're pushing for the playoffs.
Exactly. This is kind of the time where it's like you want to know exactly where your team's at and what you need to fix at the deadline.
And the thing is that Contreras has played first base before. I believe he's played third base.
He's played in the outfield before,
He's played in the outfield.
Yeah.
So he can jump around for you. And big reason for him why he would trail off at the end of most of these seasons is that he's playing full-time catcher most of the time.
Right.
That's a grueling position to play.
Yeah.
Day in and day out for most of the season.
Yeah.
Majority of his seasons he's been back there.
Absolutely.
Or jumping out somewhere else.
Yeah.
So this year, you're seeing a lot more production out of him because he didn't have to be that full-time catcher all the time, every single day.
Absolutely.
He has more relief.
Mm-hmm.
They can throw him at DH. They can put him in other spots to give him a break from being back there.
Yeah.
Or, like I said, just DH to give him a break from the field altogether.
Right.
And you're seeing that production because he's getting more of a rest in between when he's having to really do his thing back there.
Absolutely. And listen, I think I don't think he has a future staying with the Cubs. I think they'll try to pay him.
I don't think
but
so.
Unfortunately, like the other guys, I think he's going to get undercut on his pay. He's going to find value elsewhere where he can certainly make a lot more money and probably play with a better team, I would say, too, at this point in particular. And I think he'll just that's where it'll go. That's where he'll have to take it at this point. And it's sad to see him go, but at the same time, he deserves the right to be able to go out and play for a better team. We've been saying that for a while. He's clearly been the voice on this team. He's been a leader on this team. He wears the C without wearing that C, but
he wears that C.
Oh yeah, he does. He wears that C
day out.
Yeah, there you
Cubs
go.
C, okay?
Yeah.
They all do.
Absolutely. And as for
he wants it to keep doing that.
Absolutely.
They're not going to let him because they're a bunch of dicks.
And as for Ian Happ, I think he likes it here. I just don't think he likes the people in charge. I get I don't know about you. I don't know about anybody else, but I get the vibe that they don't really maybe like Jed Hoyer particularly. I think they like David Ross, which is what kind of is the glue that's kind of keeping these guys together. I think Jed Hoyer, because of what I think he's being told at the top by the Ricketts, is probably what's kind of poisoning the well, if you will, where some of these guys are like, whether I stay or go, I don't really care at this point. Like I'd love to stay, but I get the feeling I'm not going to be sticking around.
Well, both of these guys fully expressed how much they wanted to stay here.
Yeah,
they were very vocal about it.
Absolutely,
and they were very vocal about saying how happy they were that they were still here.
Yeah. And yet here we are. Yes. Once again, talking about it like we did with Rizzo and Bryant and Baez. And at this point, Hendricks, I think, is going to be one of the last men standing from that World Series team, because this is going to be a whole new ball club all of a sudden. And who knows what happens with him? He may start saying, well, everybody else is gone. Why am I sticking around then too? So it'll be interesting to see what happens, I think, at winter meetings in the offseason for the Cubs. There's going to be a lot of talk. Again, Ohtani, I think, is going to be one of the big talks of the offseason. Believe that. I think Happ will certainly be out there. Contreras, who's going to sign him, is going to be there too. It's just the same. I say, and I don't want to go back to the other team we were just talking about, but because of the fact they did business together just last year, I'm surprised the White Sox didn't even try to make a call and say, hey, Contreras and Happ, what do you guys want from him? You want more of our prospects? Here's Mika Rodolfo, Colson Montgomery. You want Kopech? We'll give you Kopech. I'm sick of Kopech. I'm just letting you know and everybody know. I'm tired of him. So one game good, other game bad. One game good, other game bad. Make up your mind.
One I'm really surprised the Sox didn't try to get was Happ, needing a left-handed bat.
Exactly. And a second baseman. Guy plays second base.
He can, yes.
And an outfielder, too. He's also an outfielder.
Yeah, he plays more.
Yeah, he's more of an outfielder.
More of an outfielder.
But he's a utility guy.
Yeah. You could move him to right field, and he could be just fine.
Easily.
And then there's your left-handed bat you're looking for.
Yes.
Who was an all-star this year.
Absolutely.
So
solving, really, I would say you're not killing two birds, but you're really killing three birds, because Grandal, I'm sorry, but you're just awful. You're just awful. Your defense is okay, but we need to see some more power from somebody. And at this point, I'm almost at the point where saying Zavala is the guy to go with over Grandal, and I hate saying that. And so I don't get sad. That's going to do it for the baseball segment, folks. And that's going to do it for
baseball bad.
Yeah, baseball bad in Chicago. But that's going to do it for our show here, ladies and gentlemen, as well. And I hope you didn't get too heartbroken by all that stuff in Chicago. We still have baseball. How good it'll be, I don't know, but we still have baseball. But as always, I'm joined by the wonderful Drew Grillam. Drew, as always, it's a pleasure to have you. I know these weren't the most favorable topics to talk about, but nevertheless, it's always a pleasure to have you.
All topics that we talk about are fun.
Tomorrow is going to be a much more fun day to talk about some stuff, so which you will be dropping the knowledge then.
Anytime we're talking sports, whether it's the good stories, the bad stories.
Yeah.
It's part of the gig.
Absolutely. And I love doing it with you and the crew here, so I always appreciate it, man. So
appreciate it. Always fun to be here.
Absolutely. Well, please let the people know where they can find you, where they can listen to you, where they can vote for you, Mr. Class President.
Well, you can vote for us in our email xbsportsofficial@gmail.com.
By the way, you're getting a lot of the votes. I'm just saying.
A vote for Drew is a vote for you.
Somebody said, yeah, I'm voting for Drew. So we got a good amount of emails saying they vote for you.
We'll start our tally.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm not getting any votes.
Because I'm the class president.
I did like somebody. I don't know who it was, but somebody did throw in a vote for Cameron.
Wow.
I know who, right? Yeah, some of you guys don't even know who that is. Maybe one day.
What were you smoking when you decided to vote?
Probably Cameron, I bet.
It probably was Cameron.
Probably was.
It was
he
Cameron.
Made a fake email.
Yeah.
He probably sent it in.
Cameron's burner account.
Swear to God, for those who don't know, Cameron is one of our friends. He has worked with us. He will eventually get back here at some point.
Maybe.
He has to worry. he can get his car back. Which we will. That's gonna be for another story, completely on another day, because that's just insane.
Yeah, we don't need to go there.
But we love you, buddy. If you did send it in, that was great. Thank you. I just love that.
It probably was.
He's just like, I vote for Cameron, and I'm like, what?
Terrible.
I didn't even get votes, but he gets votes. Come on.
Well.
But
that's why I'm the class president.
Exactly.
Because we get to.
That's why.
Sorry, you had a hanging Chad. Your vote doesn't count. But you can find me on Instagram at d.gwil25 and
Absolutely.
Facebook at Drew Gwillem, and right here Wednesdays and Thursdays.
Yes, and you will find him here tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. Thursday, he's doing the hosting thing. If you want a real quick preview, we got Bears stuff we're going to be talking about. Plus, we got a little bit more NFL stuff we're going to be getting into. It's going to be a football-filled show for you, ladies and gentlemen. Don't you fret.
I love football.
I know. That's why I saved it. And I know you're the Bears man, so I wanted to save the best for you, amigo. So I hope you like a little gift.
NFL is king.
Absolutely. And guys, if you want to follow me, the king himself, yeah, that's arrogant as hell to say. You guys can follow me at the Fluffy Guru on Twitter.
Be with their pitchforks in the emails real soon.
Send me that to a hate. I love it. You guys can also hit me up at Boom Crew Captain on Instagram as well. Yeah, I don't mind getting all the hate mail by all means, because if you guys want to follow us anymore, it's at facebook.com/TeamXBombSports. You guys can also follow us as well on the YouTube side too. Like and subscribe our show as well on YouTube. X-Bomb Sports, the big red X. You can't miss it. Just type it into the search and you will find us, X-Bomb Sports. Going live every Wednesday and Thursday, 5 to 6. We're aiming for those times, ladies and gentlemen. Also, too, you can hit us up as well, social media at XBomb Sports on Twitter and Instagram. And again, any emails, comments, questions, things like that, hit us up at xbsportsofficial@gmail.com. Real quick, run through all the good stuff. We got Blow the Whistle on the radio on Mondays, 2 to 4 p.m. Central Time. We got the TV show. We just did it today. We go 2:30, 3:30 p.m. Central Time, usually on Tuesdays, but it'll be sometime during the week. So
Bet
look
you
for
the
that.
TV doesn't work tomorrow.
Yeah, well, yeah. Why do you got to say that, man? It might have worked. Who knows?
Patterns, my friend, patterns.
Yeah, it's patterns for sure. Also, too, check out Brandon Januski's at 94.3 WMKR. If you're heading down south, put on that country genuine radio and listen to our man in the mornings. Also, too, you can hear at Baseball Banter with Brandon on Spotify if you want to hear more baseball. I'm sure he's got a lot to say about the Cubs and the White Sox coming up here real soon. Also, too, check out on Spotify Monday Motivation with Hannah Beats. Wonderful podcast to get yourself pepped up and get yourself motivated for the day on Spotify, Odyssey, and iHeartRadio. Also, too, check her out at 102.3 WMKR on the radio side, 3 to 7 p.m. Central Time. She's doing her thing, as well as at Star 96.7 with the great Eddie Volkman doing the After 8 Hours show in the morning. You can also check out the guys at The Parlay at theparlay.com talking about boxing. It's Tony Lopez and former Chicago Bull and professional boxer Kendall Gill. They're talking about boxing. Hashtag Gill versus Paul. Hashtag Paul versus Gill.
Jake Paul, you're a bum.
You stepped out of the fight. Real boxer.
Oh my God, I can't fight losers
I agree
anymore.
with Dana White. I think it was more about ticket sales than somebody's weight. So
yeah,
I'm with you for the first time in a while, Dana. So check it out and make sure hashtag Gill versus Paul. Hashtag Paul versus Gill. Let's go. And also too, ladies and gentlemen, make sure to check out the Fake Football Guys. We will not be going live this week. We'll be going live next week where we'll be premiering some new stuff. So be on the lookout for that, ladies and gentlemen, as well on YouTube. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you tomorrow. Drew will be in this chair, and we'll be talking to more football here on the X-Bomb Sports Live Show. And as always, much love. Peace out, Boom Crew.